Colorado's athletic director, not Coach Prime, gives USC bulletin board material for this weekend's game. With the NHL season opening in less than 2 weeks, we're going to take a deep dive into the LA Kings, and JC Jackson says he has no idea why he was benched by the Chargers last week. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. So it is September 29th, 2023. I have to rush through this clip. I have to go to the airport, fly off to work for the weekend. So let's start off the day at least while I stumble, being happy about LA sports. And if you'd like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And comment, because it's always the good time when you're talking LA. So before we go through the news and notes, we'll look at the scoreboard. JD Martinez and Kike Hernandez each hit home runs, but Colorado beat down the Dodgers yesterday 14-5. Not a huge deal. The Dodgers have secured the second seed in the NL playoffs, but to win 100 games in the regular season, the Dodgers have to win 2 out of the 3 last games of the year, and they're doing it up in San Francisco. The series will start tonight at 7:15 with the Giants. Lance Lynn is 12-11, 5.83 ERA. Keaton Winn has no record, but a 3.89 ERA. But let's get to USC. All this time, I expected Deion Sanders to be the guy providing bulletin board material over at USC. But to be honest with you, Coach Prime has been nothing short of a peach. He and Lincoln Riley have been just patting each other on the back, so respectful, so, dare I say, loving, that if it got any more thick, you'd expect one to ask the other out for a night of dinner and dancing. So you got to think Sanders now might want to backhand his own athletic director across the teeth for this one. Rick George is asking the student body not to rush the field Saturday. And to be honest, the request was not to rush the field at any point for the rest of the year. But let's be real, it's something you do after you pull off an upset. Like defeating the number 8 team in the country, right? Students already did so after victories over Nebraska and Colorado State. Hey, you delightful little scamps. Whatever you do, stay in your seats. Oh no, if we beat USC, you gotta be nice. Don't celebrate a victory over the Trojans. Obey the rules. Oh, we've never beaten them in 16 games, but whatever you do, don't be disrespectful to USC after we beat them on Saturday. You don't think that's gonna be on the bulletin board? Of course it is. Well done, AD. Let's talk a little more about Colorado as well. For those of us who are big fans of nepotism, Sanders has 2 sons on the team, the quarterback Shadur and a safety Shiloh. The latter apparently has a kidney problem. This is a result, we believe, of a tackle during a game last week. He was hospitalized because he's been urinating blood. Now, I don't want to sound like the doctor, but that's suboptimal. That's not something that would make me scream for my wife like I'm a little punk. So I hope the guy's okay. I really do. Urinating blood. Not the way I want to start off a Friday morning. Something I was wondering about both teams. They both went hardcore to rebuild themselves on the fly in the transfer portal. Has it produced the same results? Not necessarily in the record yet, but we've been railing, for example, for a year about USC's defensive shortcomings because they rebuilt everything to the transfer portal. Colorado's defense is even worse. They're terrible at it. And the pluses, though. Would USC have the same level of success had Riley not brought Caleb Williams along for the ride? Right? And what about Sanders over in Buffalo bringing his son Shadur along to play quarterback? It's almost like one of those hokey 80s action movies. Ah, Mr. Bond, I look at you and I see myself. We're not so different, you and I. That kind of crap, you know? Let's turn the page and talk a little hockey. The Athletic wrote a lot about the Kings yesterday and where they stand in terms of the NHL hierarchy for the upcoming season. Matter of fact, it took 4 people to tell me how the Kings are going to fare, plus a computer. Now, we'll start with the computer, because for all the work Rob Blake has put into upgrading the roster, the computer projections have the Kings with just a 1% chance of winning the Stanley Cup, and the 16th best record in the league. Now, does that sound right to you? Does it? Keep in mind, the computer has consistently underestimated LA to the tune of 15 or so points each and every year. Like, for example, 2 years ago, they thought the Kings were going to get 80 points. They wound up with 95. The writers recognize that, saying that the Kings should be in the playoffs. They're just not a lock. Okay, I suppose. What the Kings will have this year is great depth, and they skate very, very well. They also have Kevin Fiala, who ranks 4th in the league in terms of scoring chances created. They also have arguably the best third line in the NHL in Philip Deneau, Victor Arvidsson, and Trevor Moore. So while other teams might have, say, a so-called super line of one really great line, and of course Edmonton has 2, the Kings can be relentlessly coming at you with lines 1 through 4. The only one that's supposedly easy, and it's not easy, would be the 4th line. They rank LA as having the 10th best defense in the league. Tier 2, they called them, high end. The writer believes that the 3 pairings don't have attention-getting names, especially since Drew Doughty is obviously up there in years, but the depth is enviable. This will also matter too. The Kings play a defensive scheme designed to make life easy for the goalies. And here's the rub. The goalies, Kings don't have any elite people in net anymore. Jonathan Quick is gone. But there's something else the Kings do not necessarily get, and that would be offensive production from the defense. Drew Doughty used to be that guy. He's not really anymore. Rookie Brant Clark will be tasked with solving that. I mean, Doughty likes to create. He's just not the same guy. Mid-30s. Would you be surprised if I told you that the key to the incoming second-line center, Pierre-Luc Dubois, is not that he finally matures and finally becomes the elite player people envisioned him being when he was drafted 3rd overall in 2016? Apparently, the Kings' idea is not that he finds something new in his game that he developed through hard work. Nope, it's much simpler. It's that he's getting paired with Fiala. Because Fiala was a point per game forward last year despite playing with clearly lesser talent. He was able to take lesser talent and lift them. So if you have a potentially elite center playing alongside Fiala, the idea is that both lift each other up. Now, of course, if that doesn't turn out to be the case, the Kings have ponied up a lot of money for it. But you get the idea. So the best way to describe the Kings is they are loaded with very good players, not great ones. The Oilers, for example, the team that eliminated the Kings each of the last 2 years, they do have some great players. The Kings should make the playoffs, possibly make a run. But the goaltending stinks, and if Father Time finally catches up with Anze Kopitar and Doughty, all bets are off. Now, if we get more previews on the Kings with other takes on what they can do, I'll keep you in the loop. Chargers cornerback J.C. Jackson says he still doesn't know why he was a healthy scratch last week against the Vikings. Quote, "I'm still kind of confused, still don't have the answers to why I'm getting treated like this," unquote. Now, to be honest, he should know he struggled for the first 2 games of the year, especially against Miami. So let's be real with this. I don't want to choose sides when I don't know the whole story. What I can tell you is that when Cam Akers tried the "I don't know why I got benched" line, we heard from Sean McVay immediately. Sean McVay came out and said, "Oh, we spoke to him and his agent. He knows why." We're not hearing an explanation from Brandon Staley. So there might be, I'm not saying there is, there might be a little truth to that. Jackson, meanwhile, is telling people that he's been attending extra film meetings, putting in extra work after practice, asking Brandon Staley what he wants. Look, I will say if Staley hasn't given him an answer, that is potentially a problem. I don't know yet. As for Jackson's arrest warrant, which might have also been a reason for the benching. I don't know that, but it's a possibility. Jackson claims that the arrest warrant has been handled. Let's just say I'll believe it's handled when the court says it's handled, okay? I mean, judges are much better communicators than Brandon Staley in that sense. That whole you're guilty, you're not guilty, judges are pretty clear about that stuff. You know, you're going to jail, you're not going to jail. Judges are very clear when they communicate. So I'll think it's handled when the judges speak up. I don't want to sound all negative about the Bolts, right? I think the odds are really good. They're going to be 2-2 after this weekend. But I do want to give you something to chew on. We spoke yesterday about rookie Tuli Tuipulotu and how he's been an uncompromising terror on opposing quarterbacks. Consider this idea. Tuipulotu on the field at the same time as Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Now, the Chargers don't do that often, but on the 10 pass plays, the Chargers have used that personnel. 3 sacks. With a 2-run home run yesterday, J.D. Martinez joined Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Max Muncy with at least 100 RBI. It is the first time in franchise history that 4 players on the roster have all passed 100 RBI. Also, the constant turnover with the Major League roster does impact the minor leagues, you would think. Or does it? AAA Oklahoma City won its first Pacific Coast League title since becoming a Dodgers affiliate back in 2015. In the championship deciding game, Gavin Stone strikes out 10 in 6 1/3 innings. Michael Busch hit a 3-run home run. Busch is the second-ranked prospect in the Dodgers system, according to MLB.com. Stone is the 5th. They have one more game to play. They are flying out to Vegas, and they'll play in the AAA National Championship game on Saturday. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka and coach Darvin Ham said with training camp opening Tuesday, 38-year-old LeBron James is still the gym rat he's always been. Quote, he's been doing 6 a.m. workouts. Probably been in our building as much as any player this offseason. This is according to Rob Pelinka. Quote, been in the weight room as much as any player. Any team LeBron's played for, it's been pretty uniform that his work sets the tone, unquote. Now, Pelinka said that either way, the goal is to have James healthy for the postseason, which he obviously wasn't last year. The depth the Lakers have acquired in the last year and in the offseason, this is according to Ham, should allow him to find times to take the load off of the NBA's all-time leading scorer. Ham also eliminated doubt as to who the starting point guard would be. It's going to be D'Angelo Russell. Quote, I'm going to encourage him to be assertive. He's a highly intelligent basketball player who's coming back with a chip on his shoulder. He chose us. We believe in him. And he's one of those guys who has a ton of pride and passion, unquote. Now, the LA Times came out with this article and claimed that the Lakers named 2 starters. They didn't name 2 starters. It's not just going to be D'Angelo Russell and somebody else. They mentioned D'Angelo Russell starting. They mentioned Austin Reeves. Come on, guys. Little accuracy in the headlines would be nice. If you think James and Anthony Davis are fighting for their jobs, you should be thrown into a sanitarium, whoever the headline writer is. UCLA quarterback Dante Moore was sacked 7 times against Utah. We talked about how the Utes would be a major test for the freshman quarterback, but let's be real. 7 sacks isn't fair. That's just not fair, guys. Chip Kelly pointed out lack of communication on the offensive line as a culprit. Quote, just execution, technique, everything, making sure that everybody's on the same page, unquote. He said this to the LA Times. Quote, we do have some newer faces on the O-line that haven't been here, unquote. Now that's a fair assessment. The line only has 2 returning starters from last year. Now Kelly didn't trash the offensive line, but they do have 3 transfers, 2 other guys coming in who are first-year starters. So it's not just growing pains with the quarterback, it's growing pains in keeping him alive. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about USC and Colorado this weekend. And by the way, we're going to post Friday Night Chalk Talk later tonight. We're going to break down USC's defensive issues. Tell me about what you think about communication with the Chargers and J.C. Jackson. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back later tonight with Friday Night Chalk Talk. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortez Queso production. Take care.